Welcome to the Rebel Souls podcast, where we flip the middle finger to the status quo. I'm your host, Shelley Paxton, lifelong rebel, liberator of souls, and author of Soulbatical, a corporate rebel's guide to finding your best life. Settle in as we dive deep with badass leaders who are rebelling for what matters most in life, business, and the world at large. I'm so happy you're here. Let's get this revolution started. Before we begin, I want to share an offering from my soul to yours. If you've achieved traditional success only to realize that you're living someone else's dream, then this will start you on a profound journey toward becoming chief soul officer of your own life, just like I did. I'm gifting you a free chapter from my book, Soulbatical, a corporate rebel's guide to finding your best life. It's called Liberating from the Shackles of Should. And if you're ready to, then visit soulbatical.com to download it for free. That's SOULBATICAL.com. Warning, side effects include intense joy and fulfillment. Hello and welcome back, my fellow Rebel Souls. This is the OG Rebel Soul and your host, Shelley. We made it, you guys. It's the end of 2020. You're listening to this right before the new year or the dawn of the new year. And I'm excited. It's my final episode of the year. It's my final soul-isode. And I thought long and hard about what I want to share on this because I'm believing that there's so much good to come in 2021. Vaccines are real. They're on the horizon. They're already being distributed. The world will slowly start to open up again. And I want all of us to be creating our best year ever. So I want to spend some time talking about what that looks like. But before we go there, I want to talk a little bit about where I've been, because for those of you who follow me on social media, you've noticed that I was absent for quite a while, like 6-ish weeks. I didn't intend to go completely absent or just completely dark. I went to the Modern Elder Academy, which those of you who get my newsletter have heard me talk about. Those of you who've listened to the Chip Conley episode of the podcast early on have heard Chip and I talk about. He's one of the co-founders. It's in Baja, Mexico, in a little town called El Pescadero, about an hour north of Cabo. That's where you fly in, and nothing like Cabo. Super chill, of the earth, kind of rural farming village, desert meets the ocean, a surfer haven, and the energy there is spectacular. I just felt like I was vibrating on a different level. To bring a little woo into it, it was a special place. Honestly, for me, second only to the energy and the energy that I felt in New Zealand. And for those of you who know me, who've read my book, you know that New Zealand holds a very special place in my soul. It feels like my spirit land. And the Baja felt very similar to me, just, geographically and everything, very, very different, but energetically very similar. And the way it just resonated with me and my soul, and I just felt at home. So this Modern Elder Academy, I ended up spending 4 weeks there, an entire month. It's Chip set it up with his co-founders, Christine and Jeff, as the world's first midlife wisdom school. And he and I talk about it in the episodes. If you haven't listened to that episode, please go back and listen to it. He's like my soul brother and has become one of my absolute favorite people and is a huge champion of my work. And they had to pivot. They typically do weekly workshops. You come in on a Sunday, you leave on a Sunday, you do some intensive work around the making of a modern elder, or maybe some other work that a guest faculty member brings in. But you're really in it for the week. And because of COVID, it didn't make sense for them to do the workshops the way that they typically did. So they went ahead and pivoted to create sabbatical sessions, inviting people down to spend 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks or longer on a more self-guided journey, to be able to tap in and to, be able to do remote work if that's what you choose to do, to tap in and out of some of the programming that they have going on, lighter programming, but Christine and Jeff and Chip are still teaching. Some guest faculty are still making the journey down there, and really to bask in the beauty that is Baja and the community that is the Modern Elder Academy and community, and spend time with like-minded souls, spend time on your own work, your own transformation, your own transition. And it was really beautiful. I cannot recommend it enough. I'll make sure that we put a link in the show notes. And there are a few things. I think it nicely sets up what I want to talk about for next year, because there were so many powerful reminders to me in terms of like what I experienced down there. It's a few things. One, just connecting with nature. Chip calls it, I love this, he calls it spying on the divine. How incredible is that? And we would spend time doing that. He would take groups on nature walks. And down there, El Pescadero and the Baja in general is like the desert meets the ocean. And it was just, I think that's where some of the magical energy comes from. It's such a unique setting. And this idea of spying on the divine and letting nature be our teacher made me realize that I don't do that often enough. Just silently walk, whether you're in the city and you go to a park, whether you're in the mountains, by the water, in your neighborhood. Commune with the trees, with your feet in the soil. I get it. It's kind of cold some places right now, but I'm still trying to do this and practice this at least every other day while I'm back in Chicago. I've made a commitment to do this 3 times a week, just silently walk outside, walk on a trail, just see what I see. It's really beautiful. It's like, how often do we let ourselves be in awe? Like, truly give ourselves permission to be in awe, feel in awe, and learn from what's going on around us. And it was such a beautiful reminder to schedule that time. Give ourselves permission wherever you are. That's where we get ideas and inspiration, and also fuel our soul. And I think it was one of the most beautiful reminders that I got. And I have to tell you guys, like, what, especially down in the Baja, and there's none of this happening in Chicago. So I can't believe everything I saw and all the messages I was receiving from hawks. I went on this, I probably went on an 1.5-hour hike by myself over these headlands and rocks and these secret beaches. And it was incredible. I was the only person out there. And these 2, actually, maybe there were 3 or 4 hawks kept following me. It was like they were guiding me. They just would fly a little bit over me, a little bit ahead of me. I had no idea where I was going, and I trusted them. And I looked up the symbolism of hawk afterwards. And I later had another hawk experience when I was with a shaman on the mountaintop, which I'll talk about in a second. And it's unbelievable. What hawks symbolize is honesty and clear vision. They are a guide. They say, trust your instincts and your intuition. And had I not really been seeing things through Chip's lens of spying on the divine and learning from nature, I'm not even sure I would have noticed, or I would have paused to reflect on, what is this trying to tell me? What does this mean? And then I started to see it everywhere. I had another experience with a dragonfly. A good friend of mine who I met down there, she was reading my book, Soulbatical, in one of the pools. She was literally standing in the pool, holding my book up, and a dragonfly just flew to her and nested or rested on the top of the book. Just sat there, hung out. I'm talking for many minutes, not sort of hey, I'm going to drop in and leave, but just hung out while she was reading the book. She got my attention and I got a picture of it. And the dragonfly just sat there. I was on the side of the pool and I was like, I've got to look up what this means. And you're not going to believe this. I have goosebumps just telling you, I'm sharing this story right now. The dragonfly symbolizes change and transformation. Yeah. A dragonfly basically asks your spirit to soar with your true colors. Honestly, I was just sitting there. I'm like, that's the whole point and spirit of my book. That's what Soulbatical stands for. And after that moment, we started seeing dragonflies playing everywhere. I don't think I would have even had that awareness. It's so beautiful, symbolizing change and transformation. We're all in stages of change and transformation right now. COVID has upended many of our worlds, and it's forcing a lot of change. How powerful is that? So think about it. You may not have dragonflies in your particular area, but look around, pay attention, think about these kinds of things. And the last one, I was lucky enough to be in Baja at the time when the sea turtles were nesting and the babies were hatching. I posted in Insta stories one day, these like all of a sudden out of these little holes in the beach, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of little sea turtles start coming out and they have to like swim their way to the ocean. And only a couple ever survive. Usually like 200 to 250 of them hatch. And it's, sort of the laws of nature that they hatch so many babies because there's such a low survival rate. You just watch them making their way desperately to the ocean, and it's so beautiful. And we were also there at the time when, though, it was whale breaching season. The whales are heading south, and so we would see whales blowing and breaching. And it felt magical every single time. And then there were the dolphins. And this was a huge reminder to me. The dolphins are my spirit animal. This is what I discovered both in New Zealand and in kind of a shamanic dream ceremony that I did in Santa Fe with my coaching community about a year ago. And yeah, it just reminded me. And dolphins they symbolize play and joy, and watching them play out in the water, it just was like, oh, hello, Shelley, a reminder to bring more play into your life, to have fun. Like, don't forget to have fun. These guys are showing up to remind you. So those are some of the things I saw that I want to share with you. And yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing anything like that in Chicago, but I'm going to start, walking around. What will I see, especially as we're transitioning into winter here? I want to keep my eyes open. I know there are things for me to learn, and I know there are things for you to learn wherever you are in the world. Take that time. Give yourself permission to learn from nature and spy on the divine, as Chip says. And you guys, there were a few other lessons too that are really setting me up for 2021. One is the need for spaciousness and regular breaks. I don't really think I was living sabbatical this year. And I don't mean because of COVID. Certainly that played a role because I wasn't traveling until I went down to the Baja. But I really mean in the sense that I got really busy. I allowed myself to get trapped in busyness again, filling my schedule constantly on Zoom, not planning spaciousness and time for myself and those breaks. And when I got down there, I think that's the reason I went dark for so long. I felt exhausted. And I need to fuel myself back up again and, put my feet in the sand and just chill out. I took about 2.5 weeks off from work. I took a lot of time off from social media, a little bit of a digital detox. And it was a really powerful reminder to build space into my calendar going forward, not for travel necessarily, but for me, to give me time to, be creative, me time to think, to imagine, to write, to create, to simply be. It's really important. And maybe that resonates with you because you need kind of the same thing. I also got a very clear sign that I'm on the right path with my mission. And this is probably the most powerful thing that happened to me. I went, whether or not you believe in, shamans and their ability to read energy and all of that stuff. I do. And I decided to go with the resident shaman. His name is Saul, to this mountaintop that he takes his people to. You go up there before sunrise and you are sitting on this mountaintop, literally just looking at the ocean, listening to the sea lions, seeing the whales, and the sun is rising above the mountains to the east. And it is a truly spiritual experience. And then he's reading your energy and you're having a conversation. And Saul didn't know me from, a cactus. And he, through everything he told me, he read my energy as fertility and abundance and encouraged me to keep planting the seeds that I'm planting. And the conversation went on. And I later, after I understood what he was talking about, it landed so deeply with me. It brought tears to my eyes. And I was like, oh my God. He's talking about my mission to liberate 1 billion souls. I'm on the right path. Keep planting those seeds, keep taking those steps forward, keep putting my work out in the world, even when it feels tough, even when it feels like I'm not making a difference. And I told him later what I do and the mission that I'm on. And I gave him an inscribed copy of my book. And he was really moved. And he said, yeah, this is it. This is exactly what I was talking about. I can see it now. And so I'm coming to you today feeling really lit up from that experience, knowing that I'm on the right path, which tees me up just empowers me for what I want to create in 2021 and beyond, and how I want to show up in the world. The last thing that I want to share with you guys before we talk about creating our best year ever is I also got a swift kick in the ass that it's my time to teach. Chip and I had a conversation prior to going down there, and I knew he wanted to talk to me about becoming guest faculty, teaching a couple times a year down there, which I was super excited about. And the whole idea was that I would go down there, I would experience their teaching, get immersed in what they create and their way of teaching. And then we would have a conversation about what it would look like for future seasons.